Will Russia's war on Ukraine trigger a global food emergency? Russia and Ukraine supply almost a third of the world's wheat exports. G7 agriculture ministers met today to address the impact of the loss of those exports. Marie-Claude Bibeau is the Minister of Agriculture. She is in Sherbrooke, Quebec. Minister Bibeau, welcome back to the program.
A pleasure to be with you.
Now, you've just wrapped this meeting with your G7 counterparts. In the release, you talk about grave concerns about the severe effects on the global food supply chains and the sharp rise of already high prices. I wonder if you can just spell it out for Canadians in terms of what you were hearing in that meeting. How serious is this situation?
It's extremely serious. So we were all the Ministers of Agriculture of the G7 together this morning, virtually, obviously, but the Minister of Agriculture of Ukraine was with us, and Minister Lechenko told us about the attack on critical agricultural infrastructure. We knew that the port has been quite destroyed, but also silos and storage and transportation infrastructure for the agricultural sector have been destroyed. So it's quite shocking. And we understood that it will be even harder for the Ukrainian people to restart their own agriculture. And we know that it is a very important agricultural producer and exporter. And we also have to think that farmers and food workers are fighting right now. And they have provided all the diesel that they have to fuel the military equipment as well. So all of this together makes their agricultural sector extremely affected by the war.
Both within Ukraine, and of course we know that there are implications well beyond Ukraine, given how much wheat it provides, Russia as well playing a role in that. So what is Canada prepared to do?
Well, obviously, beside the sanctions and military equipment, we are one of the most important donors to the World Food Program, and our grain producers and exporters are supplying to the World Food Program as well to feed people in Ukraine, but also in Afghanistan and other crisis-affected countries, and countries who used to be supplied directly from Ukraine, might have a shortage of wheat, for example, or sunflower oil, for example. This is two major exports coming from Ukraine in regular times. So the markets will reorganize as best as possible, and this is why the G7 ministers are meeting together and trying to see, how we can coordinate what we can coordinate, make sure that we keep the markets open as well. It's important that we let our global food supply chain work as smoothly as possible, reorganizing itself, making sure that we do not apply artificial barriers to exports or tolerate inflated prices.
I appreciate the need to coordinate and to let the market work itself out, but you know very well that there is a dire need and an urgent need. I'd like to play you a clip from the World Food Program Chief Economist, Arif Husseini, spoke to CBC News the other day about that need.
We need the resources to help keep people alive in many parts of the world who are suffering incredibly for no fault of their own. So the ask of the G7 leaders is please provide the resources which are necessary so we can save lives.
He says this is as bad as it gets. In Yemen alone, 5 million people are literally a step away from famine. So what is Canada's response to that ask?
So we have recently committed $145 million in humanitarian assistance. The World Food Program is an important partner to us. We are the 5th biggest donor in the world to the World Food Program. And our exporters, grain producers and exporters are working directly with WFP to supply what they need.
But will there, this ask came just yesterday. Will there be additional help? This is an imminent and urgent need.
Yeah, we're following the situation very closely. I used to be the Minister of International Development. I can tell you that Canada is a real partner to WFP, and Minister Sajjan right now is collaborating, and we are one of the biggest donors. So I can tell you that we're there, we're standing up to help the people in need.
Okay, but no specific additional commitments right now is what I'm hearing from you. I do want to ask you, though, about the Canadian perspective on all of this, because obviously global concern, but Canadians are also worried about their own food budgets. Already we're seeing incredible inflation. Obviously, this puts a lot of pressure on the wheat market in particular. What do you say to Canadians who are already worried about how much they're spending on groceries right now? How much worse is this going to make the situation?
It is adding to the inflation that was caused by COVID and by the disruption on our food supply chain and our supply chain in general. Actually, it's true. But I mean, this is really Russia attacking an independent country. There's no reason for doing that. And the responsible of this is President Putin. And we have to deal with the situation, and we are very, side by side with Ukrainian people. We are providing as much support as we can in terms of loan, in terms of military equipment, in terms of humanitarian assistance, financial sanction. We have to do it, and we will keep doing it. But yes, it is an additional pressure on our food supply chain. It's an additional pressure on inflation in general, because it has an impact on energy and food supply. Thankfully, I mean, Canada is blessed to be a big food producer, but still.
What can you say to Canadians, though? Surely, you have a whole department full of experts. How much worse are food prices going to get? What are you being told?
It's very hard to tell. The OECD, the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, they were with us this morning. And they are following the situation. They will try to share that as much as they can. And this is why we have to collaborate and share reliable data with them. But it's hard to tell and to tell how much the food will increase. But it is additional pressure on everyone.
Significant additional pressure is what I hear you saying, even if you don't want to quantify it. I mean, we can all see when we go to the grocery store that it's already bad.
I mean, exactly. We already notice it. Yep. And this is why our government is putting in place different mechanisms to support those who need it most, like the Canada Child Benefit, like the daycare investment. These are mechanisms to help families cope with general expenses, including groceries.
I suppose the challenge is a lot of those are pre-existing mechanisms, and the situation is obviously worsening. But before I let you go, we're almost out of time. I do want to ask you about the farmers' perspective here. Many of them say that they already have their seeds, they already have their plans for this growing season. Do you expect Canada's farmers to step up in terms of wheat production? Do you think that that's realistic given the challenges that they're facing, fertilizer prices, droughts that they've been going to? Can Canada really help make up for, in particular, what we're seeing in terms of problems with global wheat supply?
I think we're blessed in Canada to have the resources we have and to have, strong farmers and a very strong food supply chain. And we have shown through COVID that we are very resilient. And now I think the farmers will hear the call of other countries, and they will do their very best to produce and be able to feed as many people as possible with our very high quality products. I'm
not sure if that's a yes or a no, though. They will do their best. Do you expect Canada to make a significant additional contribution?
I mean, the production is really the decision of the industry. It's the decision of each and every farmer. And they will read, and we are working closely with their representatives. We are reading the markets and sharing information with them. And yes, I believe that farmers will do their very best to provide as much as they can, because they hear the call and they see that some people, some countries are starving. And whatever we can do, we will.
Well, so like government incentives, for instance, I know there's concern about the price of fertilizer. So you say whatever you can do. Should wheat farmers or other farmers in Canada be expecting more government support?
I cannot be so specific. All the support we are providing right now, and we have programs open to help farmers adopting good practices, help farmers afford energy efficient equipment, for example. So we do have quite a number of programs. And in case of crisis, we have the business risk management programs available. So we have quite a few programs available to farmers. And we will keep following the situation with them, with their representatives, and see how we can collaborate.
Minister Bibeau, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.